across the line. Look at that defense from Krasowski, immediately covering off Olivier, but Olivier chucks it down into hell corner, and it looks like he's got a better exit too. They're now going to drag race up to Griffin's Bend.
Yes, they are. Here they're going to be in that straight drag race, and that's going to be Genet trying to hold on behind in that Lamborghini to see if there's anything to be had. Absolutely nothing there between the two of Krasowski and Olivier.
Krasowski's going to have the inside, but he doesn't break quite as deep. That outside is hard to hold on to, and that is why Olivier, a spin though, up at the front. Everybody tries to scatter to the inside. Krasowski falling all the way to the back. Will he get hit? No. Absolutely sends it into Sunset Bends, and cutting back underneath. We're going to go 3 wide onto the main straight and almost cutting across. New Hook nearly gets hooked himself, and thankfully has just enough space to go by Danny Cervantes. Cervantes using that slipstream to catch back up and see if he can keep Kings behind him. Kings has the desired inside line, and once again an over-under potentially no. Ryan Kings now into P3. Another attack from Reynolds, attempted into the inner loop, again, does not stick.
He peeks his nose to the inside through the carousel one more time. They've got a lapped car up ahead of him. When are they going to catch it? Can Reynolds capitalize as he now peeks to the outside? And they're side by side.
If he can keep here, he'll have the inside down into the toe of the boot, and he does. He's got the overlap. This could be job done. If he can manage to get in front and a little too deep into the corner. Schutt has to give it up, tries to square it off, looks for maybe a better exit, and I think he's got it. The lapped car helps him. He's going to try and fight back. Reynolds now gives him a taste of his own medicine as he covers the inside, breaking deep down into the heel of the boot. They carry on side by side. Has he got the inside into turn 9? I think he might. He could have this one back. This will be an incredible fight back here from the 31, and he's got it. It's closer than he's been before, and it's a white flag lap now. Does he try and get it here? Does he wait till later? This seems like a good opportunity for me. And indeed, he's once again going to be on the inside for De La Rosa, but this will be the outside into Curva Grande. Will we see Lars Stolsen start to come back forward on him?
They got
Don't
traffic.
forget about Iamaki as well. And they're going to have to stay on the side. Oh, no, they come together. They come together, and that's going to send Olsen into a horrible tumble while Iamaki carries on with the lead.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
For many, racing is about speed. We all want to go faster. In the case of tonight's venues, they deliver and then some. Two of the fastest road courses in the world should give us plenty of action, so hold on as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight, it's the Temple of Speed. Monza's hallowed halls need little introduction for most, but just in case, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. While the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years. Well, DJ, since this place is just about 100 years old, I have to imagine the early days probably resembled some of the speeds of these MX-5s, but these days, not really made for these types of cars.
No, Joe, it's going to take a while for them to get around here, but at the same time, they are going to have an absolute blast doing it, and that is because this is going to be such a draft-heavy circuit in these MX-5s, as we've seen them play out when they've gone to circuits like the Red Bull Ring. But as we've also talked about with these cars, not a lot of aerodynamics on them, so they're not going to have to worry about the aero wash. Look for some really good passing opportunities, really into any of the chicanes, Rettifilio, Della Roggia, or going down into Ascari. I think you may even see a little bit of aggression going down into Parabolica, but really and truly the trick around here is just going to be tucking up behind in the draft, staying with the other drivers, and not losing touch.
I have no doubt that's going to be the case, but we'll continue to watch that in a bit. In the meantime, our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit them at ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, as for the championship, things have gotten interesting coming into this penultimate round. Up at the top, it is Bradley Holly, who sits at the points lead, and he's got 19 points over Kevin Berquist. Now, knowing that, theoretically, he could clinch the championship today, but he is going to have to do it by a number of points to try and make it stick. So he'll have to work hard on this one and get at least 20 points to try and claim the championship. But if he does not do that, then he is not the champion. That will have to wait, of course, till next week. We also have a teams championship. Why don't we take a glance at that?
Well, Joe, in that Miata Mafia has this all but sewn up after today, with Oh God Right Turns sitting about 75 points back from them. Crikey No Brakes, 27 points back from Oh God Right Turns, so they're going to have to keep a little bit careful with 5-5 Motorsports, about 6 points back, and Fossil Racing Skull really in an island unto themselves, but Fossil Racing Bone about 11 points back from them, so a little bit of a battle still shaping up for fifth.
And as for today's race details, it's another 35-minute event, and they have, of course, the drivers have no spare car, and it is open setup. And apologies, that was the wrong graphic there as we look at them getting warmed up, but it is going to be open setups in this series with no spare car, and they have a 17 or 13 incident limit with 17 incident disqualification. And there we see this is the right one, as they have a bonus point for fastest lap, for pole position, and for 3 incidents or less. Now, fastest lap and pole, that's going to be a bit of a crapshoot on who can wind up getting those today, because it's probably going to take hooking up with a buddy to try and claim either of those.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen right now, Joe, although Bradley Holly holding a 0.3 of a second advantage over the whole entire field. That's going to be pretty hard to try to get back up in there. Kelly Greenhoe holding on to second, and from there back, it is very, very tight.
So we're still waiting on Larson, Galanotto, Berquist, and Bladon to set laps. Berquist, obviously, him second in the championship. He has got to try and get a pretty decent qualifying, or else it's going to be tough to manage to keep Holly from claiming this one. Let's see, we've got 17, 18, 19, 20 drivers here today, so it is possible to wind up 20 points back from Holly. Granted, he just has to get a decent finish, and it will carry on into the final round, and he'll still have a mathematical shot at the championship, if unlikely. But I'm sure Holly would love to try and wrap things up here today. He was actually parked it for the time being after taking that provisional pole, and it looks like Greenhoe has as well. Berquist finally puts one on the board, but it's a 2:16.9, and that's off pace, so that is not a representative lap.
No, but he's going to be able to get a good little draft here going into the first chicane. Question is if he's going to be able to clear enough cars. He's going to find the slot in there, will the 84. So that's going to be good there for him, able to get by Pete Bladon. But we'll just have to see what happens here on the rest of the lap. Getting out of the way there was Parker Muirhead, so this should help Berquist.
Yeah, that worked out perfectly for him. He didn't want to be held up, even though he wanted that slipstream, and that's why it helps to have a buddy, someone that is willing to give you the help you need when you need it, and then not get in the way for the remainder of the lap and be willing to sacrifice theirs as they come down into De La Roja. Oh, as looks like one of our Fossil Racing drivers cuts across the second chicane. I'm also keeping half an eye on Gallinotto, who looks like he's on a decent lap. And let's see if this one counts for him as he crosses the line. It's a 2:15.9. And so he gets one on the board, but again, not that quick as he slots into 16th. And seems like drivers struggling here to get a decent lap in with only 4 minutes left, so not much time. One thing that I found interesting, DJ, is in the drivers' meeting before the race control was telling them to watch out for these chicanes on the first lap. Yes, they're not getting up to high speeds, but, well, I guess the same problem exists if you're in F1 cars or MX-5s. These chicanes cause a huge stack up as soon as you come into them on the first lap.
Most certainly. They are a big braking zone after coming in at top speed, and especially with as cool as the track temperatures are right now. It's only 71 degrees Fahrenheit out on track. These MX-5 tires not going to be fully up to temperature by the time they dive down into that first and even second chicane. So drivers are going to have to be very careful, make sure they don't make any mistakes there and avoid that sort of prototypical first chicane Monza pileup.
Indeed, Bergquist crosses 2:14.9. That's a lot better. Up to 13th, still a ways down the order. And now he doesn't have a slipstream on this first part of the lap. In fact, he's given it to Todd Lewis behind him, and it looks like Ryan King's also getting a tow. Could Ryan potentially come in and spoil the fun? He's third in the points, and he actually does have to try and outscore Holly by any number of points here today, or else he's pretty much out of the running. 38 points as it sits right now between himself and Holly. And with 38 points maximum and no drop being allowed to be counted on the final race, Kings, if he's at 38 points, cannot tie on wins, so he will not be champion. But Kings is probably a very distant hope for a championship at this stage, even though he has been very quick and unfortunately a little bit loose. Is almost contact there with Bladon. I think Bladon got away with it, but he might have gotten a 0x as Kings just cycles back around and gets rolling once again.
There you see the power of those curbs, Joe. Very easy to upset the weight transfer in the car as they go around. Watching here, I believe that's Stanton in the 070 working his way around, navigating the De La Rogia a little bit easier. Now down into the Lesmos, and these two, especially in these MX-5s, very difficult. These are momentum-based cars, harder to get them up to a higher speed, so you really have to lean on the outside tires there and try to get the maximum through that double right-handed section.
Minute 40 left. Remember, it takes 2 minutes plus just to get around here, so the drivers have got to get the line here, or else they're not going to have time to complete or to start a new lap. So as they come through the Ascari chicane here, some of our Fossil Racing drivers, looks like Foster and Cabana, are getting ready to start a new one. Neither one set a fast lap that time, as the 070, unfortunately, is going to just have to park it after that, and he is done for the day. Bergquist is leading along Lewis. Bergquist goes quicker, a 14.8. Still only gets him up a little bit. In fact, it doesn't move him up at all. Lewis did not improve. Looks like Bladon, of course, had his deleted with his issues on that lap. Gross and Kings also found themselves not improving that time by. We're down to 50 seconds to go.
Yep, time ticking down here, waiting to see. It looks like Giselle and potentially Gallinotto will be the last ones. A little bit of formation flying there. That is Kings in the 55, his teammate of Randy Gross, working together a little bit, going down into Rettifilio.
So, yeah, Giselle just started a new lap, didn't go quicker that time by. Stanton's going to be able to start a new one in the 070. So I guess he didn't hit anything, and he is going to get one last shot at it, despite that spin on the previous lap. And Robert Gallinotto is coming to the line. It's going to be mighty close here for the 72. Is he going to cross in time? 3 seconds left, down to 1. And no, he got the checkered flag, and that last lap did not count. So Gallinotto is done for the day. Pete Bladon just had an off, so Pete's now done. He parks it after that. Ryan Kings is going to be the next one that tries to go quicker than 6th place.
Yeah, and I think the two most likely to improve here are going to be Kings and his teammate Randy Gross directly behind him. Gross being able to pick up the toe of the 43 here, so that will be crucially important. Looking at them right now, Kings was quick through Sector 2, setting a personal best time.
Can he keep that up, though? This last part, all about the exit here out of Ascari, and then hopefully being able to take it in deep. Oh, that was a big wreck in the background. That was one of our ride-in shotgun cars. Not sure who that was, but they've obviously finished up here in qualifying. Coming down into the Parabolica, Ryan King still leading Gross. And he's a little bit deep into the corner, off the apex slightly, tries to cut it back across, take it to the line at the shortest line possible in the 43. And no, he's going to park it. He's into pit lane. He and Gross both abandon their laps. Jerome Stanton is the last one with an opportunity to find something.
Yeah, but he's running by himself here, Joe, and I do not see any green sector times for him, so I do not think this is going to be a quick lap for the Fossil Racing Bone driver.
Yeah, I think you may be right. As he heads down into the braking into Parabolica. Is this going to be nice and tidy through here to maybe salvage something? Wow, right up to the apex there. So that was pretty good. But does he consider it good enough to try and finish the lap out of that final turn into the line as he accelerates up to it? It's a 2:14.6, and that is off of his best, and he has a little fun afterwards just because he can. And that is it for qualifying. But before we go to our starting order, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code Majors GSRC, you'll get 10% off. So for today, the penultimate round, Bradley Holly looking to clinch that championship starts on the pole. There's one of the bonus points he needs right there. And Kelly Greenhoe will start in second. Jerome Stanton, P3, with Patrick Cowgill to the outside in fourth. After that, it's Danny Cervantes, P5. Ryan King starts from 6 and Peter Newhook in 7th. Parker Muirhead will be P8 and Randy Gross 9th. Todd Lewis rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it's Pete Thomas, followed by Jason Larson, with Malcolm Foster and Kevin Berquist lining up behind them. Ian Cabana will be 15th, followed by Adam Young, with Barron Hilton to the inside of row 9 and Robert Galanotto to his outside. Mark Cassell was 19th and the last driver to set a time, and Pete Bladon rounds out your 20-car field.
All right, lining up. And remember, this is a standing start series, the MX-5, so just about have everybody out there. And they're going to have to do this F1 style coming down into the first corner. Hopefully, it's nice and clean. We get as many of these 20 cars out the other side as possible. And there is more of our cars out on the grid, as that looked like Stanton that was just putting himself on there. But I don't think Todd Lewis is out there for some reason. Not sure what happened there. At any rate, that means we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we get the green flag, since the drivers will all have to take to the grid. And of course, we've got a few drivers on boards here today. Adam Young giving us a view. And then we also have Bradley Holly showing us his perspective. Apparently, we understand he's a little under the weather. Hopefully, he'll feel better after the race. And then Peter Newhook also back once again with his friend joining for the race. And clock ticks down. So, yeah, Todd Lewis not going to be able to put his car out there, unfortunately. And Barron Hilton is. So 19 of the 20 drivers will be able to start this race from the grid. And Lewis perhaps maybe needing to start from pit lane. Just a few more seconds left. And, yep, the engines now start to rev. The lights come up. It's round 9. and the green flag is out. Bradley Holly looks pretty decent off the line to the inside. Kelly Greenhoe is being covered off by Holly, who tries to fade over to make sure he can't dive up the inside. A little bit of slipstream for Cervantes, who's already pushing along. Cowgill back there in fourth position, going deep on into the brakes. Holly tries to cover off, and it looks like he will retain the lead behind them. Nice and orderly, actually, through Redifilio, and no incidents.
Everybody taking race controls directives very seriously there. Some good lines being run up through, and look at that advantage. Bradley Holly is starting to pull out, but here is the first part of that big draft train that we've been talking about, Joe. Will anybody have a move going down into De La Roggia now?
That's the question, and this can sometimes be an even trickier chicane. Everybody's guard is down at times. Newhook looks like he's going to get a good run on Cervantes out of that one as you see him pop out behind. No more issues. Coming up to the first of the Lesmos, 90-degree right-handers, and they're going to go wheel to wheel. Cervantes is trying to hold on, but Newhook is fighting him tooth and nail.
Yes, he is. That line's going to favor back to Peter Newhook here. He just keeps trying to hold it out, but momentum favoring back to Danny Cervantes, and Newhook going to have to fall back in line as they make their way under the bridge and towards Ascari.
That cost them a lot of time. Look how far back they are compared to the front group now. And you can see there's a little bit of a look of Stanton on Greenhoe, but unfortunately can't manage to make an overtake out of that one. Now into Ascari, and still side by side there, flashing across the screen. This time, though, with Kings and Newhook. Newhook manages to come out on top between them. And we had a problem with Cabana. He's facing the wrong way and now into the kitty litter. Not sure what happened here.
Ooh, massive damage to the front end of that car. Not entirely sure, Joe. We'll have to go back and check out the replay later on to see what happened to him. But up front, Bradley Holly continuing to lead. Little bit of a tighter line there for Kelly Greenhoe. Could this be the start of an attack?
Certainly is going to be close enough to get the slipstream, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the type of run that the 12 wanted. No, he is going to just edge up to that bumper, use it NASCAR style. Stanton says, well, you boys enjoy that. I'm going to go for the lead as he ducks to the inside, had a much better run. He's side by side with Holly coming up into Redifilio. Is he going to be able to take the lead away is the question. Breaks very early and very shallow, and no, he cannot pry it away from him. In fact, now he goes wide and he falls all the way back down to fourth.
Oh, rough run there for Jerome Stanton, but the important thing is he's able to tuck right behind that rear bumper of Patrick Cowgill. As long as he is able to stay in this draft train up with this group of four, he is fine.
And that slowed them up slightly in this group because now Cervantes is catching back up. It's down to 0.8 of a second. Oh, almost making contact. In fact, I think there was just a tiny bit of contact between Greenhoe and Cowgill. Down into the braking for De La Roggia. Nobody going off, so they all manage it. And wow, that gap is coming down in a hurry. Cervantes now down to 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, he is really hustling his way, and he is pulling along with him Peter Newhook and Ryan Kings. A little bit of about a 0.7 of a second gap back to Parker Muirhead. So really, this is about to be pretty much a 7-car battle for the lead if they're not careful.
That was a fight between Larson, Hilton, and Foster that we saw there for the 13th position. Coming back to Newhook on your screen now, sizing up Cervantes. He wanted it before, but he's not able to attack this time. Might have to wait until later in the lap. Oh, and Baron Hilton is slow for some reason.
Did he maybe get off track? Looks like a slowdown penalty. Not sure if he cut the course coming through the chicanes. It's a little far away for that. I wonder maybe if he ran wide at the exit of the second Lesmo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, and there appear to the inside. That looks like that was Ryan Kings managing to go by Newhook indeed. And Newhook has more threats from behind.
Yes, he does. Newhook able to get back ahead of Ryan Kings. That was a little bit of an aggressive move there to try to make that move, but we are almost 3 wide up front. Everything firing off here down the main straightaway.
Both Cowgill and Greenhoe are pulling the toe on Bradley Holly, but Stanton does not go for it. As Cowgill thinks about it, he tries to break deep into the corner. Someone absolutely sending it in there. Is that Cervantes? That is Cervantes, who somehow managed to really come in deep. Newhook behind him, along with Muirhead and Kings, now start to get single file, but we are seeing some ambitious moves.
Well, if you know how to get that car woed up in time, you can do it. But here comes a big move around the Curva Grande here on the outside. I think that's Kelly Greenhoe thinking about a little bit of a move here. Is he going to go for it onto Cowgill down in? Whoa, very sideways was Jerome Stanton.
Yet he's still sitting in that fourth place, but now he's got company. Here comes Cervantes, Newhook, as he pulls off to the side, and it's another slowdown penalty. Will he be able to serve it in time? We found out Baron Hilton had a slowdown, but he didn't serve it in time, so he now has a stop-and-go penalty that he has to serve because of that. So expect him to duck into pit lane in extra time here. Newhook back down to fifth. He keeps trying to make moves, but Peter can't seem to actually make anything stay put.
No, he can't. I think this may be a little bit of a position here for Peter to maybe just hold back, save a little bit of fuel. That is very, very easy to do here around Monza. It gets very close to the back of Danny Cervantes there, going down into Ascari, and that could be a little bit a part of it.
Had a contact there between Muirhead and Kings as we now watch Newhook's cam as he follows behind Danny Cervantes, and there's a little bit of action happening behind him. King, Stanton, Muirhead, almost looking three wide there. You can see it from the onboard, and King's looking to the very inside, sends it in on Muirhead, is able to get the spot, but so is Stanton. They weave out wide. This is just about every line you could pick happening through Parabolica, and it all starts all over again as they now come down the pit straight.
And that's the second time we've seen Ryan Kings really chuck it into Parabolica. This time it worked. Looks like he's given a little bit of a bump draft here to Jerome Stanton. Is he going to try to pull out to the inside? Maybe, but up front, that is Kelly Greenhoe trying to get the move on Patrick Cowgill.
Oh, side by side through there. Cowgill fights back. A little bit of an elbow off to the side into Greenhoe, and that slows him up enough that Cervantes could maybe take fourth away. He's on the outside, though, as they come through the Curva Grande. It's a longer distance here. I'm not sure that this is going to work out. Let's see if he can keep the nose in long enough for a fight into De La Roja.
Well, they've got to be a little bit careful. Bradley Holly's starting to streak into the distance, but they are able to keep it out. But now Patrick Cowgill in front of them, picking a line. Cervantes, I think, is backing out of it. Yes, indeed he is.
Ooh, and they're starting to get stacked up behind them now as well. There are so many cars so close together that drivers are not anticipating how big of a stack up it's becoming. And some contact is being made. Remember, they have an incident limit at only 13, and they will find themselves being sent into the pits with a stop and go. That's only 3 4X contacts and an off course. That's all it takes.
Exactly. You've got to be very, very careful as here comes a little bit of Noah's Ark. Kelly Greenhoe, Patrick Cowgill, Danny Cervantes, and Peter Newhook underneath the bridge going down into Ascari. Who's going to be the battle of the late breakers here?
Patrick Cowgill manages to get a nose ahead and slides it right in front of Greenhoe. Greenhoe can't carry his momentum. He has to back up. Cervantes still sitting in fourth, but now Kelly with a great run coming off of the Ascari chicane. And as he accelerates away, he's going to now get a nose ahead, but he's on the outside as they approach Parabolica. Is this going to be job done for Kelly? Doesn't look like it. Coming back at him. There goes Cowgill down the inside. And now Cowgill's back into P2. Here comes Cervantes trying to get P3.
Yeah, Cervantes trying to take it out there to the inside, but some good momentum there, I think, for Kelly Greenhoe, able to take it on the outside. We're 3 wide down the front straightaway with a bump draft in the middle.
And that's Cowgill that's getting the bump from Cervantes. Another one joining in. Stanton working together with Greenhoe now and looking to go as far into the corner as they dare. Greenhoe around the outside. Cowgill still with him. Gets fed out just like he fed him out before. And Greenhoe finally into second place. Still, it's not over. Look at Newhook and Stanton side by side for fourth.
How How they all managed to get through that corner without any damage, Joe, is absolutely beyond me. But Stanton having that look on Newhook here, trying to see if he can get anything to go. Right now, they're all going to be single file. Is anybody going to pop their nose out? It looks like Newhook's going to try to go here on Cowgill. Meow!
He got through, but is he going to get a slowdown penalty? No, looks like he did not, just enough. He cut a lot of that curb, but he was within bounds according to the sim. So Newhook into third. By the way, with all this happening, they're already 4 seconds behind Bradley Hawley.
Yeah, this is exactly what Bradley Hawley wants to see. There you can see great shot there from our director, Zach Johnson, to be able to show that distance in between the two. And Greenhoe starting to streak away a little bit here. Newhook's got to be careful. He doesn't want to fight any battles behind him. He's got to keep his eyes ahead.
Looks like Cowgill has Kings now coming through. Can Kings get that done? Oh, he's a little hot into the corner. Once again, he manages to get it turned in, but that actually slowed both of them up, I think. And they're now, let's see, about 1.3 seconds back from Peter Newhook. And this is just causing all the more cars to get clogged up back here.
Yeah, you can see him starting to fan out a little bit. That's the 19 of Muirhead down to the inside, going into Parabolica. Good cutoff there from Ryan Kings. Side by side between Cowgill and Cervantes. Jerome Stanton trying to hold it on. Muirhead down to the inside. We're going to go multi-wide again.
All right, pick your lane now. Who do you want to hook up with? Ahead of them, they're starting to lose Newhook and Greenhoe, who I think are trying their best to actually get a tandem going. And down the pitch straight, 3 wide, stuck in the middle. Cowgill again. Oh, they're starting to come together, and Kings is off into the wall hard. So is Cowgill. Oh, and unfortunately, it looks like a little bit of ghost contact. Oh, no, Thomas Larson. They're all catching up to it. That could have been a single car incident, and just unfortunately, it seems like nobody was able to keep their head aware.
No, nobody holding the brakes there. Everybody seeming to be involved in it, and lots of those leading drivers, Kings, Thomas, Larson, all of them down the order now.
Yep, Cowgill got some damage out of that one. I think Cervantes was involved in that. Did Bergquist get through? I think Bergquist maybe got through. Yeah, Bergquist got through it, so he's up to 7th place after that. As we watch them now come out of the De La Rocha chicane, defending the inside. That's Stanton, who's a whole 4.4 seconds back from Greenhoe. That was costly, that incident there on the front stretch. And this group doesn't look like they have much opportunity to try and close in unless they really put aside differences and try to work together like Newhook and Greenhoe are doing. By the way, that has already come down to 3.4.
Yeah, so they're starting to pull it in a little bit here if they are lucky, and that's the way you've got to do it. It's tandem racing. We see this in all kinds of racing at this track. If you work together with somebody else, it's like you're running an oval. You'll be able to chase down the guy in front of you.
I think we got a replay ready on that incident on the front stretch, and I don't think we're going to get past here along into the Parabolica, so let's try and watch. Yeah, this is it initially happens. Kings, yeah, probably should have been a little farther over to the left. And then Cowgill was tripped up. Cervantes thought he had, well, Cervantes did catch it actually. And it was Cowgill who bounced back across with a Fossil Racing driver collecting him. Then you got a riding shotgun car that's just kind of innocently collected.
Yeah, you can see there just the domino of everybody coming together there. Cowgill should have tried to hold the brakes a little bit more there. Larson getting collected. Everybody just getting caught out.
5 cars got meatball flags out of that. They had enough damage that they were forced to come down into pit lane as this battle carries on. Oh, and there's a slip up from Cervantes. Keeps it from completely spinning around, but now he loses touch with Stanton. Muirhead streaks ahead, hoping that he can maybe keep the draft on that 070. And then Bergquist is even going to be able to get by, promoting him to 6th now.
Yeah, and luckily here for Cervantes, he didn't lose too much time, so he'll be able to stay in touch with this group and just try to work together once again. Now, they've got about a 5-second disadvantage. Whoa, that was an aggressive move
there. What happened there with the 19? I don't know if that was a slowdown or he just made it too hot into the corner, but he was way off the racing line. And both of them, both Cervantes and Bergquist, were able to sneak through.
Joe, the 19 caught a little bit of grass coming down into the chicane. The tail end got happy, and he was just lucky to be able to hold on to that thing.
Wow. Well, that's impressive then. It didn't, at first, without seeing that touch of the grass, it looked just a bit strange, but fantastic job keeping that from becoming worse. As we see heading down into the Scary chicane, Bergquist up to 5th position, past Cervantes. And looks like these three may be able to calm down. Getting word from Patrick Cowgill in the chat saying he held the brake as hard as he could, so car just must have been going too fast to really get it slowed down as it was out of control.
Yeah, and that can happen, Joe. I mean, these MX-5s not exactly having the biggest brake rotors in the world on them, so he can hold that brake as hard as he wants, and sometimes the contact patch when you're going sideways just not going to work out for you.
So on to the front stretch, and Cervantes is in. He's not one of those with the meatball flag, so this is a scheduled stop for him, maybe trying to get out of the way of some of that battling there in the mid-pack to see if he can just run by his own.
I'm not sure I like that call for him, Joe. The problem here is going to be he's going to be running by himself, and if he does that, he's going to lose any of the potential draft. We've seen here what Newhook and Greeno have been able to do, closing down a little bit on Bradley Holly if they work together. It's not like Cervantes is going to have any of that.
Ooh, Stanton overshot the first chicane and had to really bound over the sleeping policeman, found himself with a slowdown penalty, so he falls back into 6th spot. And this is Newhook that you see with Greenhoe. At first they were starting to gain, but unfortunately it's back up to 4.5 seconds up to Bradley Holly. So this is still working in Holly's favor. However, with Bergquist in 4th, he's definitely not going to take the championship if things finish as they sit.
Yeah, exactly. And Bradley will know that. He's just going to want to try to run the best race that he can here at this point. Continues to pull away a little bit more and more each lap. He is just going to try to get what he can out of this race and go down into the season finale in the best position he can.
Well, and it's amazing how driven he's been all season long as we continue to watch this fight, well, sort of fight here for 2nd place. The fact that he missed out on the championship by a single point last time out really seemed to irk him. We've asked him about it, and he acknowledged that he was not happy about that situation, and he wanted to do everything he could to prevent being in that spot again. And you know, I'd say he's just about doing it. Because at this point, barring absolute tragedy for him in the final round, it's looking highly unlikely anybody will be able to beat him.
Well, and the last round is the Red Bull Ring, a very fast track similar to Monza. You know, he's coming on into pit lane, though, as is Newhook and Greenhoe. Looks like that second trailing group, though, of Bergquist, Muirhead, and Stanton, they're going to stay out.
So Stanton has caught up to them and uses that slipstream as we watch the front, I think 5 cars here, front 3 or 4 cars coming down to take their service. Just fuel, no tires on these MX-5s that are needed in such short races. I can tell you that Foster is going to win that game of breaking down into the first chicane ahead of Bladon and Gallinotto, as well as they were 3 wide down into there. But Bradley Holly returns in about 7th place.
And look at how close Peter Newhook is behind Bradley Holly. Newhook was about 2 seconds shorter in the pit box and really able to get behind him.
Holly overshoots the first chicane, and here goes Newhook. Newhook might be able to get the lead away. This race is back on.
Here we go. We were just talking about Bradley Holly's tenacity over the course of this season. Well, he's going to have to show it now in the final 15 minutes of this race if he wants to try to take this crown away from Peter Newhook.
Holly, is he going to look to try and take it right back? No. If anything, though, this is a track and this is a style of racing that plays right into the hands of Bradley. We've seen it before in the MX-5s. He said the bump draft experience and stock cars actually has helped him win races before. I got a feeling this is going to be tough for Newhook to hold him behind.
I certainly think so, but the one thing that's going to come back here is that I think Newhook has been able to save a lot of fuel. That could explain why he was able to come in so short. And so if that is true, he'll be able to push pretty hard here going forward, and maybe that'll be his only saving grace against Bradley Holly.
Yeah, that's a good point. We hadn't even considered that if Newhook was sitting behind for that long and simply letting himself be pulled by Greenhoe down into the braking for Ascari. No attempt yet for Bradley Holly. If we don't see one on the front stretch, I have to imagine that Brad is indeed just biding his time and waiting until it gets closer to the end to really attack. Looks like Stanton is pitting in. Muirhead carries on. Bergquist carries on. Bladon and Gallinotto all still staying out, but Foster is in.
And there comes the move from Bradley Holly down into the Parabolica. A good move around, but a little bit of a fight back here from Newhook. He's not going to let this go quietly.
Side by side. So Holly going to have at least a little fun racing with Peter Newhook, which ironically, we've been talking a lot about that championship. It was Newhook that he lost the championship to last season.
It was indeed, as they continue to go in here, Holly and Newhook. Newhook going very defensive down into the first chicane. That's going to compromise his exit speed. Bradley Holly knows that, but a good job there from Newhook, parking that car at the apex, preventing Holly from getting a good run.
So we've lost two drivers officially up to this stage. Barron Hilton, Jason Larson are done. Thomas and Gross are still taking repairs, extensive repairs in those cars. Todd Lewis did not manage to start the race. And actually, looks like Ryan Kings also should be done with this race, but I don't see a checkered flag next to his name, so that is a bit strange.
I'm not sure what's going on there with him exactly. Holly continuing to look threatening here off of De La Rogia and down into the Lesmos. He is not content to just sit and let this by. He wants to be back in the lead.
See, coming off of Lesmo 2, much better to the apex there was Peter Newhook. But Bradley Holly, who knows that this is for the net lead once the pit stops finish. Will he go? No, he is going to bump draft. He's trying to push him as hard as he can as they pick up speed, and now he brakes hard, getting off that bumper down into the Ascari chicane.
Down there, little bit wide through the second part of the chicane for Bradley. Peter had a slightly better line through there. You see those big size we mentioned earlier. Bradley feeling a little bit under the weather here, so he is really having to dig deep and doing a fantastic job. Muirhead, Bergquist, Bladon, Gallinotto, all the other pit stops firing off here.
Yeah, I'd say that Holly looks just marginally more focused than usual, and he is usually an incredibly focused person when it comes to racing, as Newhook now comes around to retake the lead, and Holly follows him across the line to start lap 11. Don't expect any of these drivers in pit lane to be able to come out with him. Indeed, yep, looks like they all go by. So where will Muirhead and the others come back out, as still no attempt from Bradley Holly down into the first chicane. Looks like Muirhead's going to come out in about 5th position, just behind Cervantes. Bergquist's going to come out, oh wow, all the way down in 7th. It did not work out for Kevin Bergquist.
No, it certainly did not. And a little bit of a longer stop there. 21 seconds is on the longer side. That is what we saw Bradley Holly do. So I wonder if Bergquist just not really saving that much fuel.
Oh, and, well, Bergquist is going to get at least one more as we continue to watch the two leaders through De La Rogia, because there was a problem breaking into Rettifilio for Stanton. He's going to lose that spot. Now through the Lesmos once again. 10 minutes to go on the clock. We're looking at about 5 laps left here.
Yes, we are. And Bradley Holly, I guarantee you, as well as Peter Newhook, will know that. They're going to start counting back in their minds. Ooh, we've had a car go off into the gravel. Malcolm Foster there in the 11, not in the gravel, off into the asphalt there at the end of De La Rogia.
Not the first time he's had issues today. He is not the last driver out there rolling, though. That looks to be Ian Cabana in the 774 currently. So we're down to, let's see, it looks like 15 cars left of our 20 starters. And this...
Holly missed Ascari. Holly outbroke himself and went straight on through the Ascari chicane, Joe.
Oh, and he had to go off to the right to do that because otherwise he would have run into Newhook. So he did the gentlemanly thing and he avoided an accident. So Bradley Holly now has to make up 2.6 seconds here. How fast is he? On his own before, he was pulling away, but everybody else was battling in those early stages of this 9th round. Does he still have that speed, even though Newhook has not got any competition up there? Let's take a look at the off that the 184 had.
I think he just may have touched a little bit of that outside grass. That car looked a little bit sideways as he went on through there. Let's go back and see. 184 comes in. Ooh, no, he just missed his braking zone. We heard drivers before this talking about how much being tucked up behind in the draft throws you off, and contact between Bergquist and Stanton now.
Stanton's off. He tries to get back rolling in front of traffic as we go to the replay. Looks like, thankfully, there is not a second incident. And actually, excuse me, we're coming back live here as Bladon is now ahead of Stanton, who falls into 8th position. Started this race P3, remember. The 070 had high expectations, and they are becoming quite lowered now as they break into De La Rogia. He thinks about it, then comes back to the racing line.
And they've got to watch out there. That is not a car for position. That is Ian Cabana behind them. But there is a train coming up behind there, led by Galinotto. These two don't want to squabble too much, or it could lead the way to him.
Absolutely. Last thing he needs right now is complicating this fight as they head out of the second Lesmo now. And keeping a close eye on Hawley's time once he crosses the start-finish line. That's going to be important because, yes, he is 2.2 seconds back, but if he's able to take a significant chunk out of Newhook this time by, then that means he could reel him in enough to get one last shot at it down into the Ascari chicane here with the trio of Calgill, Young, and Thomas. And not those. That was actually Bladon, Stanton, and Cabana. Now coming out towards the Parabolica. Not close enough, I think, to see an attack here. Newhook this time across the line is going to be at 2:13.937. Holly, 2:13.5, almost half a second faster. I don't think this is over.
I don't think it is either, Joe. And what's really interesting about those times is that he's gaining a lot. He gained about 0.3 of a second overall in Sector 2 and Sector 4. Looking at those microsectors, Sector 2 is really the run from De La Rogia into the first Lesmo. And then Sector 4 is Ascari and on to part of the back straightaway. A little bit of contact there.
Things getting dicey once again in the mid-pack. And Jerome Stanton thinks about trying to see if he can get through. Oh, deep into the corner for Bladon. He got shaken off the racing line, trying to break as far as he could. Stanton now going to try and go around the outside as they pick up speed through the Curva Grande.
They're going to try to go here. That outside line will hold the momentum, but the inside line is the fastest line through the corner. Let's see who's going to be able to take this. Bladon versus Stanton. Almost nothing separating the two.
Side by side, down into De La Rogia, now back into single file amongst them. They know that the laps are ticking down. They know they've got to start getting that car into the position that they want. See if they can break away from those behind and cut off that slipstream so that they can't be ridden by the coattails all the way to the end of the race. By the way, Holly down to 1.4 seconds now.
Bradley Holly is on an absolute tear here. Sector 2, 2 cents of a second faster. Sector 3, just under 2 tenths of a second faster. He is booking it. Now, he really needs to try to get within about 1.5 seconds. That's where he'll start to get a whiff of the draft. But once he gets under a second, it's game on.
So all he has to do is cut off 6 tenths. And he's back in the game. 5 minutes left to go. And that should be 3 laps. Yeah, 3 laps for these two to finish this out. Holly wants max points. He wants to make himself as safe as he can. He's been dominating so far this season with 3 pole positions, 7 top 5s, more than anybody else so far. Only once finishing outside of the top 5 so far this season. However, on the win tally, he's not as dominant. 2 versus Bergquist 2. And that is why he cannot tie leading into the last round and be able to claim the championship, because Bergquist could still tie him on wins and keep that from going to a win count back. As we now watch Newhook coming down into the chicane. Holly has it down to 1.2 seconds, and he's definitely hustling as he kicks up the dirt on the exit.
And that's the first time we've seen him go faster through Sector 1. Holly getting a good whiff of the draft down the main straightaway. Coming through Sector 2 now. Holly lost a little bit of time, about 81 thousandths of a second, but he'll be able to hustle it here, get a good draft here around that 1.5 second area. He'll be able to feel just a little bit of that air breakage from the 87 in front of him. There you see the face of determination on Bradley Holly.
This is actually a pretty fearsome face. I would not want to see this in my rearview mirrors as he steers into the corner. Very deliberate, little bit of correction here and there, but for the most part, he just eases it in, and he is 7 tenths behind. That is definitely the place where Bradley Holly is much faster than the 87. Now he's going to feel the slipstream as they get the 2 to go at the line.
Here he comes, 8 tenths of a second faster through Sector 4. Absolutely remarkable from Bradley Holly. I think Newhook may have been a little bit wide coming through Ascari, and that could have contributed to it as well. But here he comes, Newhook diving down to the low side of the track, just trying to break a little bit of the draft out of that 184.
All right, put yourself in Bradley's shoes here, DJ. You've got 2 laps to go. You've now caught the slipstream of your rival. Do you attack now or do you stay behind? Well, Holly's going to answer for it. He's going to attack.
And Newhook just looked like he had nothing for him there. He may have even lifted a little bit, so that may be a strategy game from Peter Newhook, wanting to be behind him going into that final lap. This is a little bit like sometimes when we call an oval race, counting those laps back, figuring out where you want to be.
Behind him, there are still a few battles that are on. As Stanton and Bladon, well, actually, you know what? I don't think that's a battle, because that is 2 Fossil Racing drivers that are together. However, they have, nope, lapped car. That's Ian Cabana. I was about to say they have a riding shotgun car that's also fighting with them. Cervantes here, after getting involved in an incident and avoiding being seriously collected, although he got a little bit of damage, is in 4th, and Parker Muirhead has run him down to 7 tenths.
Yes, he has. So this is certainly still on. We've seen some good speed out of the 19 of Parker Muirhead. Little bit narrow there through the first Lesmo. Let's see how he takes the second. That's a crucial drafting opportunity here as they come off of the corner. Good line there for Parker.
Excellent line. So Muirhead will start to feel it, but he's 6 tenths back. Will he be able to catch Cervantes by the time they hit the braking zone? That's what he needs here. And as they approach Ascari, no, he's going to run out of racetrack and have to try again a little bit later. But the opportunities are really running out. Muirhead not even close to that apex there for a moment.
No, very often. I think he is trying to hustle as hard as he can. And sometimes around Monza, you've got to let the car drive itself a little bit. And running around a little bit, pushing too hard can definitely cost you.
White flag is out for Bradley Holly. Looks like he and Newhook separated by 0.8 of a second. Is this part of the plan for Bradley Hawley? Did he know he had enough pace that he could try to break away from Newhook? He saw how much faster he was through Ascari, and he's got it at 0.6 of a second, so it looks like Newhook is regaining somewhat. How is this going to shake out? Can Peter run him down?
He's going to have to try to. It's now or never time for Peter Newhook, trying to gain in a little bit more. It's now down under 0.8, hovering at about 7.5.
As they come around and off of Curva Grande, still hovering at 0.6 of a second. They're 7 seconds ahead of Greenhoe. He is definitely out of the equation from here. Cervantes another 7 seconds back from that, who's still battling with Muirhead. And where is the rival Bergquist in all this? He sits in 6th place. He's going to limit the damage, but he won't be able to beat Hawley on points.
That was very wide for Bradley Hawley coming through the first Lesmo, almost lost the car.
Now coming out of the second Lesmo, streaming down. Even in spite of that, Newhook's 1.2 seconds behind. Bradley Hawley has got his rockets turned on. Is he going to take this win just by sheer pace? I didn't think that this would be possible unless you were massively faster than the other car, but I guess that's what Hawley is.
I guess it is as well. We saw him pull out a gap like this in the first stage of the race and then lose it during the pit stops, as now they come around and run it down the gap. 3 seconds. Newhook made a mistake through Ascari.
Oh, so that puts paid to that. Hawley with the pit stops, a little bit of a longer one. Who we thought that maybe that would bring the race back into it, but Hawley's not having any of that. He's going to take the win as he crosses the line here at Monza for his 3rd victory of the season.
A fantastic run there from Bradley Hawley, putting himself into the position that he needs to be in. You see the sigh of relief there for the 184. Not enough to clench it, but enough to put himself into great position coming into the Red Bull Ring next time out.
Was Newhook short on fuel? He was only a second ahead of Greenhoe at the line. That was a little bit closer than I think he would have wanted. Cervantes manages to get 4th, Muirhead just behind him in 5th.
I think he may have been. We've got a little bit of a battle here between Bledon and Jerome Stanton coming to the line.
But it's going to be Stanton who beats Bledon as they wreck off the exits. And that's the last of our battles. So as I think Giselle's going to be the only other one we need to finish, let's head through our finishing order here today. Bradley Hawley, your winner once again, with Peter Newhook finishing in 2nd place. It was Kelly Greenhoe in P3, followed by Danny Cervantes in 4th. Parker Muirhead, P5 for him, followed by Bergquist in 6th, up from 14th as well. Great climb. It was Jerome Stanton who finished 7th despite starting on the podium. Pete Bledon from 20th to 8th, and then Robert Galanotto was 9th, and Adam Young grabs the top 10.
In 11th, it was Malcolm Foster, followed by Mark Cassell, followed by Pete Bledon. Patrick Cowgill was 13th. Pete Thomas in 14th, followed by Ian Cabana and Randy Gross 5 laps down. Ryan King's involved in that incident, as was Jason Larson, Baron Hilton, and Todd Lewis, DNFs on the day.
So that's going to take us to our first interview with our winner, Bradley Hawley, who now sits many points ahead of Bergquist coming into the finale. Bradley, we talked about it during the broadcasts. Last season seemed to really affect you with that narrow miss for the championship. You had told us you're doing everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen again. And, sir, I'd say you've set yourself up nicely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting race today, and I didn't get much practice due to being sick all week, so I wasn't sure how today was going to play out.
Yeah, how were you feeling during that race? Was the adrenaline taking over, or were you feeling any fatigue?
I haven't felt good since last the truck race on Wednesday. I've had COVID, so yesterday I did a little too much, and today I've taken a step back, and I'm not feeling too good today.
Well, we won't keep you too long. Congratulations on a victory. We hope you start to feel better. Is there anybody you want to thank before you take off?
I'd like to thank the Waterback guys. First off, we practice week in and week out, trying to figure out what the strategy is going to be and all that. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show, and everybody in the PRL. We try to make it as fair as possible and as fun as possible, and I look forward to continuing working with everybody.
That was Bradley Holly, who's managed to win despite suffering from COVID. As up next, DJ's caught up with second place Peter Newhook.
Well, Peter, that was one heck of a run to the line there. You were able to catch up during pit stops. It sounded like you ran out a little bit of fuel at the end, though.
Yep, definitely a little shy towards the end. I came out of the pits and I thought, like, okay, great. Like, my crew chief has never failed me before. If this is what it says, this must be right. And I got it with Brad. I thought, perfect, I'll be able to draft behind Brad. But obviously he had that little shimmy in the first chicane, and I thought, oh, great, I'll jump on this. How many chances am I going to get to be in front of Bradley Holly? Turns out I should have stayed behind Bradley Holly.
Well, I mean, regardless of that, it's a little bit of a crazy race for you, all over the place, up 5 positions. Coming home on the podium's got to feel good, regardless of running out of fuel like that and not being able to challenge for the win.
Yeah, like, super happy. After seeing where I was after qualifying, I wasn't super sure. And the official races this week have been an absolute cluster. So I'll be honest, I wasn't super looking forward to this, but it seemed like this group was pretty responsible. And I think, like, I forget the name of the corner, but there was a point where Bradley ran off, and I think it speaks to the quality of the guys in this league and, like, the quality of Bradley as, like, a driver, that he sort of took the off, like, went off track instead of trying to plow into me to make the corner. So yeah, pretty pleased with how that worked out. And yeah, lots of places. It was fun first lap, fun first few laps.
I'm sure. I mean, we were having a hoot and a holler calling it up here. We had to kind of a similar track in terms of the draft trains in the Red Bull Ring. Can we expect another podium from you?
Absolutely. I'm going for the win. I'm going for broke. This is the final race of the season. Let's do it.
I love it. I love the confidence, Peter. Anybody you want to thank for this second here today?
Yeah, thanks to you guys. I love watching all of the broadcasts you put out, and thanks to the authors of Crew Chief. You have never let me down before today. I will give you a pass this time.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Peter Newhook, your second place finisher. And now, Joe, you've caught up with Kelly Greenhoe.
Indeed. Kelly, I got to ask, you were part of that pack that was trying to keep up with Bradley Holly and lost track there in the first half of the race. What was going on there? At any point were you on the radio to any of them saying, hey, we need to cut this out because we're losing touch with the big man?
Yeah, a little bit. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, that was a good race. I got a good tow from Bradley actually in quali, which helped get me up there to start. He's quick. There's no two ways about it. I couldn't keep up with him on my own. We had some scraps going, and I figured he was going to run away anyways, so I did what I could to try to stay up there in second and third, and it worked. There was a little scrap. I think I'll have to go back and watch, and then all of a sudden I broke out of 5 or 6 seconds and was on a little bit of an island, but I did what I could. Those guys are quick.
Certainly looked like it. Only one more round to go with the Red Bull Ring. The season's just about over. What's your goal for that last one? Is it just the victory, or is there a championship position that you want?
I'm not really fighting for any position. I didn't join until I think Spa it was, and I've had a couple PC issues the last several weeks, and I just made some upgrades, and I think I'm on track. I'm really looking forward to next season, getting a full season in, maybe joining a team, getting in on that action. I need to make some buddies and get some qualifying partners so we can get some drafting going on. I like the ring. I know it well. I think a win would be awesome, but I'm just trying to make my name known in the league and get ready for next year or next season.
That makes sense to me. Well, congratulations on a podium. That's certainly on your way to making your name known. Anybody you want to thank, though?
Just thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast and PRL for putting it on. I can't believe the quality week in and week out, or I should say day in and day out. I see you guys on the YouTube pretty much every single day. So thank you for doing this. This is so much fun. I'm pretty new to the whole sim racing world, so it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to years to come.
Oh, well, we're glad to have another friend here to join us in the racing. That was Kelly Greenhoe in third today, which is going to take us to a quick break. But we have more racing. The PRL GT3 Pro-Am Series is at Watkins Glen. Stick around for that after this.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back. We're here at Watkins Glen International for the eighth round of the season, I should say, here for the PRL GT3 Pro-Am Series. And while many race fans do know plenty about this track, we do have a handy-dandy track guide to introduce the uninitiated. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, DJ, it's Watkins Glen. We've seen a lot of races here. We've even seen a lot of GT3 races here. But today, there's much more on the line, of course, than just the race itself.
Exactly. We've got to start worrying about that championship. But in terms of the track itself, a couple of good overtaking opportunities, specifically after the rescan that iRacing put in a couple of months ago. Obviously, the number one area going to be getting the draft off of the 90 through the S's and down into the inner loop. We can also see some good fighting back and forth through the chute and the toe, and now really into the heel. That expanded runoff at the end there has really allowed for that to become a much more important overtaking zone. But watch for the drivers to have a little bit of trouble coming up over turn 9. Always a tricky corner no matter what it is, even with these GT3s and traction control cars. But one thing is for certain, Joe, this is going to be a great race around a great track.
Always seems to put on a pretty good show out here. And, well, for this season, the show has been mostly Daniel Krasowski's, who's taken 5 of the victories so far. And as you can see, that's put him well ahead of Fujita, who's only got 1 to his name. Finally got that back in Detroit. Dominic Liviere sits well behind in 3rd as well. And Arnaud Genet trying to catch up to him, along with Teddy Lowendick, who has been continually improving in this series. Maybe he could get higher than 5th. We'll have to see, because he looks quick today. We also have an AMS championship. Let's take a glance at those points.
Well, after the last round, Juan Benitez able to pull out a little bit more of a lead here to the tune of about 15 points over Kwoknin, who continues to try to close down on him. Diego Moraes falling down the order a little bit there into 3rd with 35 points back, with Dewey Kang looking to his outside to try to overtake him, and Alexander Baton breathing down their neck as well.
As for the team's championship, RSR by ButtKicker, having both Teddy and Krasowski on the team, are actually doing quite well, as you'd expect. ASR Esports is still chasing them, and this is not over. Precision Racing Island boys could find themselves out of the running after today, though it'll take some extenuating circumstances for that to actually come to fruition, whereas NTR Motorsports and Precision Racing Esports Blue are mostly concerned with one another in that battle for P4. What about in today's race details? How is this race going to shake out, DJ?
Well, Joe, as you said, it is the 8th round of 9 here, and it'll be a 40-minute race with open setups, but cap on fuel, so drivers will have to come down pit lane over the course of the race here. Same with the MX-5 Series. Drive-through incidents will at 13 and disqualification at 17. 1 bonus point awarded for fast lap, pole, or 3 incidents or less.
So qualifying as they come through. Looks like Daniel Krasowski has the provisional pole, and he's on his last flyer. I actually saw Teddy Lowendick have to come and park it after his first lap, and it does take a bit to get around here. So looks like he might only get 1 flyer down, because, yeah, he's just coming around now. The 72 is potentially going to be starting at the very back of the field after his warm-up time looked very fortuitous.
Yeah, and Teddy's got some damage to the rear end of the car. He lost it coming down through the boot. So this is not going to be good for Teddy Lowendick. We're going to have to see how well he's able to fight his way through the field. Very unfortunate for the Audi. But I do have to say, I don't think the Audi's going to necessarily be favored around here. This is probably going to be a track that suits the BMW or the Lamborghinis a little bit more. Tends to be a pretty grunty track.
Yeah. Gotta think those BMWs gonna like this place. And Teddy, no laps for him. Wow, from the very back of the fields. This will have to be quite the climb. And in the meantime, we've come on over to this. Looks like a Bertome that we've got here in the 217 around the last few turns for his final flying lap, taking it right up to the edge. Let's see. Ooh, he gets bumped down to 7th as Jared Williams went quicker and Jerome did not go faster.
Oh, not a good run there for him. Last couple of drivers here working their way around. That is the 13 on your screen right now of J.R. Williams, currently sitting in 4th. I think we're going to have a couple of drivers that are going to be able to finish things out. J.R., not one of them. One of the first up will be Alexandre Breton here in 14th place.
Kwok Nin also just coming across the line, and he's faster. 43.4. That'll put him up into 7th and 2nd in the AM category at the start of this race. Breton down and across an 80. The 89 has a 43.9, and that will bump him up to 14th, but 9 seconds left. That's it for our qualifying. It is set. And Krasowski has taken another bonus point with that pole position. Elliott White, winner from last round, is going to try and challenge him once again. Dave Menino starts from P3. You've got J.R. Williams in 4th, followed by Iago Moraes in the 5th position. Then it's Jean-Marc Tremblay in 6th. We mentioned Kwok Nin, 2nd in the AM Championship, but 7th overall. Well, in the AM grid, I should say. Iago Moraes on that pole for the AM grid. Jerome Bertone after him. Another AM driver starts from 8th overall. Arnaud Genet will be P9 outside of row 5. It is Jordan Kuntz in 10th.
In 11th, it'll be Caven Norris, followed by Tommy Brisson with Juan Benitez and Alexandre Breton in 14th. Jean-Claude Langlois will line up to the inside of row 8, followed by Marc-Andre Desjardins with Cody Hatch and Josh Slade behind them, and Ted Lowendick, a lonely 19th, unable to set a time here today.
Got a few more onboards here for today's race. Caven Norris is our first one, as we see the driver with his headset on, ready to go. Going to be giving us a view from the 11th position. After that, we've got Juan Benitez, one of our AM drivers, starting from 13th himself. And then finally, Teddy Lowendick, unfortunately dead last here today. And yeah, that dinosaur kind of wraps up, I'm sure, how he feels right now. Let's hope that he doesn't get damaged and wind up feeling even more like a bandaged T-Rex there, which I'm curious what the story is behind that thing.
As am I, Joe, as we get going here for a full pace lap around the Glen. These drivers going to have to be watching out at the start. If I'm Daniel Krasowski here, it's very important to try to get a good jump on the field, break as much of the draft as you can, as we've often seen some good moves going down into that inner loop on the first lap, and that can really set the tone for the entire race here.
Indeed, and coming in with that 21-point gap, Krasowski needs to outscore Fujita by 17 points. Actually, Fujita's not here, is he?
He is not.
No. Well then. And that is going to be his second no-show. He did not start round 1. That means this will actually be a 0. And indeed, Krasowski should likely clinch today. Now, that said, he has to make sure that Olivier does not outscore him enough that Dominic can get back into this. And Dominic Olivier is going to be, well, no, is Dominic not here either? No, he's not. I think this means by starting this race, Krasowski will claim the championship.
I think you're right on that, Joe. I'll have to do the quick math here, which is always a terrifying concept, but I think you are right.
Yeah, 46 points back. The max is 38 that anybody can take. Olivier would have had to have outscored him by a decent chunk to still have a mathematical shot, and they are not allowed to drop the final race. So that one will be a 0 if you wreck out or have or don't show there. So fascinating times here, and I guess we have unexpectedly crowned a champion just by taking the green flag here in a moment. But will Krasowski get to celebrate it with a victory, a 6th on the season? Or will he be coming home with his tail between his legs and a bit of a mixed feeling championship? We'll see soon enough as they come out of the heel of the boots. Elliott White certainly looked like he could take it to Daniel Krasowski when we were at Bathurst as well. So you know he's not going to rest on his laurels.
No, and I think some good speed out of J.R. Williams. He's going to have his teammate Dave Menino there to play a little bit with. It'll be good to see them, to try to see what those guys are able to do.
Just 2 more corners here, and then we go racing for round 8 out of 9. It's been an interesting season here for the Pro-Ams. We've certainly seen some AMs start to look like they are going to be racing like pros next time out. And as they come off the final corner, Krasowski has control of the fields, and he goes immediately. Green flag is out. Look at the duck in a line for Elliott White. He goes for the slipstream right away. But what about behind them? As they dive down into the 90, there's going to be a lot of drivers jockeying for position, looking for the exit for the run up the hill.
Everybody getting through nice and clean. It looks like a little bit of side-by-side through the S's. That can be a little bit sketchy sometimes as they get going. But Elliott White here in a good draft behind Krasowski.
But he doesn't go for it. He sits behind. Menino also sits behind. Nobody willing to try and attack for the track position. Fascinating stuff. And into the inner loop, in fact, it is completely single file.
Very, very interesting there. I would have thought you'd see some more drivers being a little aggressive, and look at the gap there that Krasowski was able to get off of the inner and outer loops, starting to pull out there about 0.7 of a second, despite having White right up behind him earlier on.
Oof, was that a mistake for Elliott not trying to attack when he had a chance to? It obviously was the safer option this early in the race, but now the 33 has a gap of about 0.9 of a second, and they're not even done with the first lap. Everybody behind, though, is still very much in a train all the way to almost the tail end of the field.
Yeah, it's very much single file. Little bit of movement here, and then, oh, that's 27 around.
Oh, Elliott White's Lamborghini off to the side of the track. A little touch with the wall, but I don't think that should be too much damage. He'll get it rolling back to last place. By the way, speaking of last place, Teddy Lowendick in just 1 lap has got himself now up to 15th.
Yeah, so he is definitely on the move there. Right ahead of him now, Jean-Claude Langlois in one of the 2 Ferraris in the field. That Audi should be a little bit better through the twistier bits. That Ferrari a good all-arounder, as we've talked about at many points during the course of the season.
So we now come back up the hill once again. Menino 1.8 seconds behind Krasowski. We watch from the perspective of Teddy Lowendick. He's got a nice little slipstream here. That's Langlois in front of him. And behind him as well, looks like a change for position as Cody Hatch is overtaken by Slade down to the inside. And Teddy Lowendick now overtakes Langlois. It's up to P14.
Good job there for Teddy, starting to work his way around right now. He is now going to have Alexandre Breton ahead of him in a sister Audi.
We might have an AM driver wind up on the overall podium. Iago Moraes was looking on Williams there into the chute for a brief moment. You can see there, still very tightly packed together. And behind them, it's a good fight between Tremblay and his rival Kwok Nin. And in fact, I'm pretty sure from what we looked at the points, Nin and Moraes are your 2. No, it's Benitez that he is fighting with, rather. Moraes, though, is in 3rd in the points.
Yes, he is. So Moraes, remember, was a lot closer there earlier on, falling back a little bit, it seemed like. So he's going to have some room to try to catch up here is Moraes. But Benitez and Nin, that battle to really keep an eye on.
Bad news for Benitez. He's 2 positions behind in the AM class. Oh, we've had a big wreck in the background. Jordan Kuntz, unfortunately, in a very prone spot. Thankfully, everybody is able to avoid getting into him, but a massive wreck as he lost the rear coming out of the final turn. He's immediately taking it into pit lane.
Yeah, and it's relatively easy to do that through there, Joe. That corner can really catch you off guard. You've got to carry it in at about 3rd or 4th gear, a little bit of brush braking, but we're going to jump back up to the battle up front. This is Moraes trying to make the move on Williams.
Has to go around the outside, and that's not going to work, unfortunately. Can't over-under him down through the chicane. Almost makes contact with the rear of J.R. Williams. Now off of the carousel. He's still quite close. He could try and be aggressive here. He wants to be aggressive, but backs out of it.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to get that going down into the chute, and you can see how it backed up Moraes a little bit into the arms of Tremblay. Tremblay's got to worry about Kwok Nin behind him, so this is real domino-style battle.
It is indeed. Minino's liking this as he's starting to finally get himself some handy space. And another look to the inside, this time much deeper, but still can't get the overlap. Iago's got to watch out Tremblay right there. Oh, and behind him, looks like Nin and Bertome are going to have a fight. There you see, as we look off the back, side by side, coming off of turn 9, but Kwok Nin will retain 6 overall.
Yeah, tried to get a little bit aggressive there on Jacob Tremblay to try to have that move, and Jerome Batum trying to maybe take advantage of it. So a lot of push and pull wide there off of the corner, though, is Kwok Nin, and behind him, Jerome Batum looking like he's going to be in trouble from Arnaud Genet.
Genet pokes his nose out, and so does Moraes. Moraes manages to get to the inside, but this is through the 90. They're going to be wheel to wheel as they come up through the S's. This could be a toss-up to either one of them as to who comes out ahead. Back and forth they weave as they climb over the crest, almost banging doors, in fact, and cutting a big hole in the air. And Jean-Marc Tremblay wants to try and find a way through. Instead, he has to play defense as now Bertome makes a go at things. And down into the corner, Moraes is onto the podium as J.R. Williams falls to 4th.
What a gutsy move there from Iago Moraes, not backing down from that position and muscling his way forward. Fantastic stuff from the 13.
Look at this side by side behind them as well. Cave and Norris and a little bit of a fight with Kwok Nin, and Kwok Nin cannot hold him behind. Kwok falls back to 9th position.
All right, so he's going to have to gather himself up a little bit back here. Able to get a little bit of narrower run there off of the toe. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to attack with, though.
And at the back of that group, you can see him poking out now. That is Teddy Lowendick, who might get another one. He's down to the inside of Breton. Does Breton fight him? He wants to, but he gets elbowed out of the way.
Teddy looking like he is a little bit riled up here. Not happy with that qualifying at all. He wants positions, and he wants them now.
So 12th spot now. That is up 7 spots since the start of this race. Impressive stuff. Meanwhile, look in front of him. It looks like Genet and Bertome might swap around once again. No, not quite close enough to one another. But this is really the part where you want to get the good exit. Ooh, just a little wide there for Jerome off of the 90. And starting to accelerate away. Oh, he's catching up to Tremblay now.
Yeah, he's starting to catch up a little bit. And yeah, Joe, running wide there used to be a good thing on the old pave, but the way the curbing breaks now, here comes that Porsche of Bertome.
Can he outbrake him? It looks like he can. Smooth move. Oh, and coming together, Tremblay. He had contact with Genet, and he comes back across the track. Multiple cars getting into them.
Oh,
who got out of that clean?
I think Bresson was just able to avoid everything. Obviously, there, the 312 of Genet really limping around there. Not good at all.
Oh, no. Let's see. I'm double checking here, and it looks like Tommy Bresson got a big hit into the wall, and Juan Benitez. Oh, if Benitez has damage, and if he is slow, then that could hurt his championship. So, in fact, yeah, Benitez is in pit lane now. Here's the incident. Tremblay back across the track. Oh, and Lowendick got a piece of it, too.
Yeah, and you saw it there, Bresson just getting that big hit, as did Benitez. Really nowhere to go on that. They just had to avoid that spinning BMW. Watch it again here. It's the Ferrari and the BMW just hard into that outside wall.
Sure, there's immense frustration from all involved on that one. And let's see who's able to carry on. So Brisson and Benitez, only ones down pit lane. Lowendick is actually up to 8th, so he got a few spots out of it. Don't know what kind of damage is on the car after that, because that's another one of those big questions that's left. And yeah, you can see, yeah, both of them down into the wall after the cars were almost uncontrollable from that one. Oh, did Kevin Norris just get a position? No, it was Kwok Nin getting a position from Kevin Norris.
Yeah, able to get that move done going down through the boot, just kind of muscling his way on by. So that's going to promote Kwok up into 6th place.
And behind them, Teddy Lowendick up to 8th now from that 19th starting position. I checked on the front of the car, as you can see here on the screen. Doesn't look like he's got damage. If he does, it's extremely minimal.
He's got a little bit on the left side. There you can see it as they come through the toe. He's got some damage onto the left side of the car, but I don't think it's going to be too affecting him. It doesn't look like the steering's out of alignment. He should be okay.
Ah, yeah, there it is. Just on the driver's side door. And as he comes through turn 9, certainly doesn't seem to be slowing him up at all. And Jean-Marc Tremblay with that big hit is amazingly still out and rolling. I wonder if he's trying to get to the pit window here.
Could be trying to get to the pit window. Also, remember, could just be trying to get to 50% in this race, as that will allow him to score points.
So coming down and around, will he pit this time? Nope, he's going to stay out. So he thinks he needs to carry on. He's all the way down to 14th of 15 cars that are still running. Only Langlois behind him now at this stage. Well, this broke up a fair few of our fights. Although I think Desjardins and Genet still have something going on for 12th.
Yes, they do, and they've got to be careful. Tremblay is less than a second behind. Here comes that Lamborghini trying to get around the BMW to the best he can. Genet to the inside of the inner loop.
Down into that little back and forth chicane. Genet ahead of Desjardins, so that'll put him into 12th spot. Remember, he was involved in that incident we just saw through the inner loop, so he's probably dealing with a little bit of damage and is definitely out of position at this stage.
Indeed, he is trying to just mitigate that to the best of his ability as they work their way around here. But I have got to say, Moraes just putting on an absolute clinic in that teal blue Audi.
Wow. Wow. A reminder, he is actually in the AM class, and he is about to try and fight his way into second with Menino directly in front of him. In fact, he ran him down, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He has been running him down the past 2 laps, able to gain 8/10 over lap 5 and 6. Let's see how much he was able to gain on this last one as they cross over the line. Yeah, over the course of the last 3 laps, he's been able to gain about 1.3, 1.4 seconds.
Wow. Big development in the championship. Benitez is not going to score points today. He has DNF'd. He tried to take the car out to roll, and unfortunately, it was too damaged even after repairs. So he has left the session. This is an open door for Kwok Nin. He's not leading right now. That goes to Jerome Bertome. But if Kwok gets enough points over Benitez, he finds himself in a good position to take the AM championship.
Yeah, but Kwok's still in that fierce battle with Kevin Norris, and they've got to look out behind him because they've got an unwelcome visitor in the form of Teddy Lowendick. This is about to be a 3-car battle.
But the only saving grace for Benitez right now is he has no zeros in his drop column. It's just the 24 from round 5. So he's going to get actually a fair few points for a drop round. 24 is quite a bit. That was from Spa that he had his worst, and amazingly, his worst finish is 8th overall.
Yeah, Benitez has had one heck of a season here, and it is very, very impressive for him to see as we watch on board with Kevin Norris just trying to close down behind Kwok Nin. That new added runoff that I talked about there at the exit of the hill, you see both drivers taking it out as far as they will go.
That was a lot of counter steering that we just saw there. And thankfully, it did not wind up with Norris in the wall, but he's having to do a lot of corrections. And apologies, 17th position was the worst that Benitez had, as I was looking at Igor Murray's name. Regardless, this is going to make quite a difference in the championship hunt here today, as we now see them come out of the 90. Norris ahead of Lowendick with Kwok Nin, each with their own motivations here today.
Indeed, they are. And Teddy Lowendick continuing that really good recovery drive. This is up 11. He is, it goes without saying, but the biggest mover in the field thus far.
I'm sure Soup would take umbrage with you about saying he's the biggest mover, considering he didn't qualify. Ooh, through the grass a little bit there for Caven Norris, as he cut a little bit far to the right-hand side. Didn't get a slowdown penalty, just looked a little sketchy, no doubt. 25 minutes in, I think we should be within the pit window, and we were wondering about Tremblay coming down into pit lane, and he still has not. The 127 is actually still out there.
Yeah, so he's going to keep running, and this pit window should be open from about now to, I would say, roughly about 10 minutes left to go in the race. It's a nice wide pit window here, although a lot of drivers can save a good amount of fuel here. There's a lot of wide open throttle, and especially with these sweeping corners around here, if you're light with the right foot, you can really control that on throttle action and save a good amount of fuel. Oh, that's the 774. That's Caven Norris around.
Oh, Norris, he was doing so good, and he's going to fall, well, all the way back because he had to take a tow. Oh, and look at the disappointment. This is how much it means to these drivers. Even though Norris wasn't even in the hunt for a podium today, that still was a gutting end to his event.
Exactly, and that is that tricky turn 9 that I talked about, Joe. It's such a hard corner because of the elevation change. You're coming up the hill, and then it just immediately flattens out on you. Very, very easy to spin the rear tires.
So, with the number 93 of Moraes behind Menino on screen, and now very close behind him with a great exit. Is he going to attack? Menino's actually going to defend. He's not going to allow him to try to get down to the inside. Could he get the over-under here, maybe? A better exit coming off the corner. Tries for it, but nothing doing.
Not able to do it, but Moraes knows he's into the head here of Menino, trying to push him around a little bit, seeing if he can go defensive. Now, again, I talked about it here going into the heel. This is going to be a good moment to be able to try to attack, but it doesn't look like maybe it does.
Ooh, whoa, really chucked it in there. That's the one thing that I'm a little bit scared of here with Iago. We've now seen him really send it in a number of times, and drivers keep cutting him off. At some point, either he's going to get the position with one of those, or somebody is going to chop down to the apex, not expecting him to be there, and we're going to have a big wreck.
Yeah, exactly. He has just got to hope that he can be able to pull this out right, tucking behind in the draft here to see if he's got anything to do.
So I was looking at the points here. Now, again, the drop points make it a little bit complicated, but Moraes, if he's going to take the win, that's a minimum of 35 points. He's 35 points behind Benitez. Now, again, Benitez is going to get 24 added to his score regardless, so he will not surpass him, but that's going to cut in by at least 11 points there, and actually allow Iago to potentially also have a shot at the championship here.
Oh, this is going to set up an absolutely fascinating final round next time out. This could get really fun.
Another good run here. This seems to be the spot where Moraes is strongest for the second time in a row. He's just climbing over that rear wing and having to go defensive again. Is he going to try and sell him a dummy? Oh, he made him go a little bit extra defensive as he just showed his nose briefly, then came back to the racing line, up and atop the hill. Last time, that number 93 tried to get to the inside into the heel of the boot. Will he do the same again? No, he's not going to pull the same move.
Ooh, look looking a little bit feisty on the exit, though. Is he going to have a little bit of a look coming up into turn 9? He's not, but does take a little bit of a wider line there. That could set him up. 10 and 11 are not really passing zones, but my goodness, Murray's just looking like he is all over the back. Whoa!
And a great exit. That gets him the inside through the final corner. He is through as they go through some smoke. I'm not sure what the cause of that was. Somebody having a massive moment. And now coming across the line, Moraes. That was a brilliant move to get him second place.
Yes, it was, and it looks like, I'm not sure what that cause of the brake smoke was. I was trying to figure it out.
It was Norris. Norris had a spin.
Yeah, Caven must have come back out on track. The car just not handling well, and he lost it coming through the final corner. That's what it was. But here comes the fight back from Menino.
And Menino's through easily. I think Moraes has a lot more wing in that thing because this is where he catches up right here. Even though the straightaway fares well for Menino and things getting shaky now. Oh, no, and he goes around. J.R. Williams catches into him. Dodging around the outside, Bertome now takes the AM lead. J.R. Williams gets promoted back into third, and Iago Moraes, who at one point was looking like he could get into the hunt in the championship, finds it slipping through his fingers.
And Joe, that was a spin that was about 3 corners in the making. He was out of control by the time he exited the inner loop and was just trying to hold on to that thing all the way halfway through the outer loop.
Ah, man, so many disappointing moments for drivers here today. Benitez has got to be extremely frustrated. We just watched Norris display some of his. And now, Iago Moraes, we don't have a camera on him, but I'm sure we would see a huge grimace on that face. But up at the front, Krasowski, who has already claimed the championship, is just running away with it like it's taking candy from a baby.
Yeah, he is at this point 9 seconds in the lead ahead of Dave Menino, just running away with this race.
So 18 minutes left to go. Well, that broke up one of our best fights, frankly, there between Menino and Moraes. But we should be expecting pit stops soon. I think we're down to 14 drivers left. Yep, Caven Norris actually just left and officially has called it a day and hung up the VR set. So that is sad to see after he was having such a good run there for a moment there behind Krasowski. Excuse me, this is not Krasowski. This is Kwok Nin with Lowendick chasing him down. Kwok Nin promoted up into second now as well, and likely to be our championship leader after this.
Talk about a topsy-turvy race here, Joe. We could have never predicted this coming in, but this is just sometimes some of the action that Watkins Glen can provide. It's a very, very unique circuit in the fact that you have these long corners, and they can just catch drivers out so easily if you're not careful.
Strange stats here so far this season as well. Benitez leading the points coming into this one. 3 wins for him. Kwok Nin into this race second in the points, 0 wins. And then flanking on his other side, Iago Moraes came in with 4 wins. So what a bizarre one. I think this will be Bertome's first ever AM win. Yes, should be his first AM win here in this series. If he can come away with it. That's the thing. We've already seen a few drivers struggle here today at Watkins Glen, so crossing fingers and toes that the 217 can now get to the checkered flag now that it's fallen in his lap.
Well, exactly, and knock on all the wood if you are a fan of Jerome Bertome, but he's got to be a little bit careful. Easy to spin the tires in that rear-engine, rear-wheel drive Porsche machine. So he has got to be absolutely on it here in these closing 16 or so minutes.
Well, we've lost Benitez. We've still got Teddy. And Caven Norris was our other one. So we're down to a single camera here for our onboards here today. And Teddy with kind of reverse fortunes from the other two. As Norris started from 11th, I guess, mid-pack, so not really all that high up, but has now DNF'd, and Benitez, who started up at the top or towards the top of the AMS, now also out of it as we watch his onboard cam. He doesn't look too stressed. I guess now he's honestly into the less stressful phase of the race where he just puts down laps.
Yeah, exactly. This is just kind of the moment where you're hot lapping. Oh, we've got another car around.
That's Desjardins. This happened in the chase. This was a single car incident, and the BMW did not seem to like the chute, so it went around and a self-spin. Murray's back on his horse, but this time instead, he's trying to fight with Breton in the number 89.
Yes, he is. So fighting still, but fighting a little bit farther back in the field. I've got to imagine Iago's going to be able to get by Breton relatively quickly here, maybe even a move down into the 90, although it does look like Breton's covering that off just as he needs to.
I think we got some scheduled stops happening. This is Josh Slade in the 34 from our AM class, who's down and in. And continuing on up the hill, yeah, Iago looked very, very fast before, so we expect it's not going to be difficult for him, but you never know. And this is Audi versus Audi, so hard to find much of an advantage, and this long backstretch is not where he has been the best so far. This is where he really comes on, just carrying the speed, carrying that downforce, and as he goes slightly offline around the high side, is this going to be enough? He's thinking about it, but no, an early turn-in from Alexander will not give the opportunity this time.
Yeah, gonna stop him there. Breton doing a very, very good job to fight him off here. This is absolutely textbook defense from that Audi in front.
Had 2 pit stops. Looks like Slade is done and dusted. Cody Hatch also has been in and out in the number 7. So there's 2 of our back markers that have decided to take earlier stops than most of the others. Oh, here we go. Good run from Moraes. Looking out of the inside. Alexander doesn't defend that one. He saw the writing on the wall. And Iago's back into 7th. Started this race in 5th, so he's still got 2 more to go to at least break even.
All right, so here they all come down, trundling down pit lane here. A lot of these drivers. It'll be interesting to see if anybody's been able to save fuel here at this point.
Yep, Williams, Breton, Nin. Looks like Genet is pitting. Iago Moraes is also in. But don't think any of the others. Desjardins is going to be the last one. He just had a spin, so what if he's going to elect to try and come down pit lane just because it's not a good lap? Nope, he's going to stay out. So we still need 7 drivers that need a scheduled stop and some fuel.
Exactly, and so we will have to see what they do. Not a lot of surprises here coming out thus far with them, but we never know what happens here in the pit stops, Joe. We've seen things get very, very topsy-turvy.
It's been a wild race, that's for sure. Oh, and Iago Moraes is in pits with a black flag. And if he's serving that, this is going to be a very long pit stop. I think he may have hit the incident limit. Or is this for speeding, maybe?
Well, if it was an incident limit, it would be a drive-through potentially. So I'm not sure what he's doing. As our leader, Krasowski, comes down pit lane.
Yeah, but if he got this all the way, or already as he was planning on coming in, then he basically had no choice because he had to take fuel. Which, yeah, we're down to the end of the pit window, so he maybe was just stuck having to do that. And it does look like he had to serve that with his pit stop because it was 51 seconds. Krasowski, Menino, Lowendick, all in the pits.
Yep, that's looking like it is the absolute end of the sequence here. Tremblay coming down, just waiting for Jean-Claude Langlois, and he comes down as well.
And that's it. That is... Nope, that's not everybody. We need Desjardins, but we're expecting him to follow in. I doubt he's saved enough fuel. Krasowski back out in the lead. Menino is actually going to be fighting with J.R. Williams for third. There he is in the background in that Porsche, trying to chase down his teammate in the Lambo. He's within a second. The battle is on.
Yes, indeed it is. And it also looks like Ted Lowendick able to gain some time over Kwok Nin, courtesy of about a 2-second faster pit stop. He's within a second as well.
So the pit stops have revitalized the battles on the track in the final 11 minutes of this race. Not so for the lead as much, but definitely for other positions down through the order. I want to keep an eye on Minino and Williams. Minino, after that hard fight that he had with Moraes, already knows how to defend. Question is, what kind of race will we get between two teammates who obviously don't want to take each other out?
Exactly. They're going to be looking a little bit maybe at team points. A double podium here for that SRT esports team could be very big for them. Remember, they're a little far back in the championship, so they may want to try to move up a couple of positions.
Well, I think a third and a fourth will move them up a few positions for sure. A second and a third, actually, I should say. So, yeah, this is going to be a handy points haul. And that team's championship has swapped around quite a bit over the course of this season here. So now under 10 minutes left to go. And as we check in on Kwok Nin, Lowendick has it now down to 0.6 of a second. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is an AM car versus a pro car. And yes, they are not fighting for the same points championship, but there is still the overall. We don't report on it, and I'm sure it still matters to the drivers. And I got to imagine it's still a point of pride for the 86 to finish as high as he can.
Exactly. Wants to try to get up there as much as possible, but and these are all drivers, Joe. They're racers. They want to be racing each other. That's half the fun of coming out here, so he's not going to make this easy for Ted Lowendick.
Lowendick's got to run, but he decides not to take it, lifting before they get up into the braking for the inner loop. But he's certainly got him on the ropes. Can he now get by? And this is honestly our closest battle on the track, the 86 and the 72, with Kwok Nin up 2 positions since the start of this race, but a whopping 13 for Teddy Lowendick.
Yeah, moving his way up through the field, slicing and dicing, but trying to come in. Gets a little bit of a narrower line there through the corner. That'll help Teddy potentially on the run. The horsepower of that BMW is going to make things a little bit more difficult for the Audi on the straightaways.
Yeah, I haven't talked a whole lot about that, but the different makes and cars do have different qualities here in the sim. Yes, they have the dreaded BOP, but some will fare better at certain tracks. Even though they're quite evenly matched. And coming now out of the penultimate turn, Teddy sticking with him. I wonder if he's trying to set himself up for a real slam dunk coming down into the inner loop. Well, he might have it here. Coming down into the 90. Yep, he's going to take it. He goes to the inside. Kwok Nin does not defend. This could be intentional. He could be trying to let him through. No, he's going to fight him as well. Side by side, coming through the 90. And Kwok Nin has a little bit more speed.
A little bit more speed, but Teddy's not going to let him go, though the line is going to favor back to Kwok Nin. Lowendick has to stick back in line. Let's see if he can pick up any scraps of the draft here going down into the inner loop. I think he's going to be a little bit far back, and indeed, Lowendick not able to make the pass.
Yeah, again, I wonder if he maybe should have waited, if he would have done better to try and time the run. And now he's still stuck behind. There's more laps to go. It could be a lesson for the future, depending on how this goes from here. Thinking about it, down into the chute. He shows himself in the mirrors. But once again, Kwok Nin is not going to be shaken by it.
No, he's not. I've got to give a lot of credit here to Kwok Nin, putting on a lot of good defense here in the closing stages of this race.
Out of the toe of the boot. Lowendick wants at least one more. After this, it's going to be tough for him to catch Jerome Bertome, and he gets to the inside. He manages to get the overlap that he needs, but he is pinched down to the bottom and doesn't have exit speed.
No, he doesn't. Nin runs a little bit wide through turn 9. Teddy's going to poke his nose up in there, trying to see if he's got anything, but no real overtaking zones into 10 or 11. Teddy's just going to have to hold this behind and try to get another good run out of that final corner.
So we watch his onboard chatting away with somebody here. Wonder if this is with Krasowski, his new teammate. Once again, he's very close. Is he going to move? No. Look at that. Yeah, I think he is learning.
Yes, he is going to stay behind Nin here. Just try to pick up as much of that draft as he can. Be nice and easy. You can already see him starting to gain a little bit of a wobble. Too much curve there on the second part of the S's, but he still continues to gain. Here maybe comes the move.
He could try it if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to, and he's going to sit behind as they plow over the curbs left and right through the bus stop chicane. The gap between Minino and Williams, by the way, as we've been watching this fight, has stayed pretty steady for the most part. It's ebbed and flowed a little bit, but this is the much more exciting battle currently late in the race. Wow, all the way over, down into the dirt there, and now having to try to go defensive, but not defensive enough. Teddy finally takes it. He gets a mistake out of him, and that's all he needed.
And that is exactly some of that mental pressure that we always talk about. And Kwok Nin coming on the radio and going, great pass, man. Good respect among the drivers there.
And he could have maybe tried to send it in down into the heel of the boot, but he also chose not to do so. Okay, Teddy's gotten by him. Now, can he try and drop him? And Teddy just said over the radio, I'm coming for you, Jerome.
Throwing down a little bit of a gauntlet here in the last 4.5 minutes. I like it. Ted's going to have his work cut out for him. He's got 2.5 seconds to try to make up. Let's see if that Audi's able to hustle and get up there.
Well, unfortunately for them, they don't have too many more laps left to go, because next time by, Krasowski is going to get, I think, 2 to go. Yeah, 2 laps to go.
Yeah, that seems about right here for the Canadian driver. Bringing that car down through the chute here, bringing it around. And Joe, he has driven an absolutely flawless race here.
Yeah, he certainly has. It's not over, granted, but it seems once again nobody can keep up with him. This is what we kind of saw early on in the season, at least when Fujita was not able to either keep up or had an incident. He was challenged a number of times by Kazuki, but without him here today, it seemed like Menado nor Williams and all number of other drivers just didn't have the pace to make this any sort of challenge for the 33. Things have come down here. It looks like the 13 has it within 0.6 of a second. So one good run or one slip up from Dave could give a good opportunity for JR to snatch second place from him.
Yeah, it could indeed. Let's see how they handle it. Yeah, you can see that Porsche closing up a little bit, under braking the gap now under 0.5 of a second. So this battle for the final podium positions certainly not done by any stretch of the imagination.
Out of the 90 once again. And I'm checking in as well on Lowendick. Oh, wow. Teddy was not kidding about coming for Jerome. He's down to 1.7 seconds now. So this could be a 4th place overall for Lowendick as it sits. It won't steal the AM win from Jerome, but I'm sure he'd prefer just off the podium as opposed to 4th, or to 5th rather.
Yeah, exactly. On that last lap, just really booking it here is Teddy. Looks like he loses a little bit of time in the first sector of the lap, but starts to gain it over the course of the boot. Not to be surprising, again, that Audi a little bit more nimble, a little bit lighter. It likes the curves a little bit more than the Porsche, which tends to be a little bit better in a straight line.
Coming down the hill once again. Teddy, 1.6 seconds. Last lap, a 1:44.2 for Teddy. 45 flat for Jerome Bertome. Meanwhile, It's looking closer, but it was still at 0.6 on my screen. Now it's down to 0.5, so maybe it is closing in. We're going to get a white flag. Yes, white flag this time by Krasowski. Just went by the line.
All right, and that gap between Menino and Williams closing down even more. It's now under 0.4 of a second as they make their way to the penultimate corner for the penultimate time.
There's the white flag from Menino and Williams. Are they going to try and just run line astern to the finish to collect those valuable team championship points? Or are they going to fight amongst each other to decide who gets to finish P2 and who gets to finish P3? They've got almost 7 seconds to Jerome Bertome, so they're not really under threat from those behind.
No, they've got plenty of room to try to duke this out if they want to, but as you said, Joe, it is a little bit of a calculated risk to be able to do it right. They want to maximize those team points. In fact, you could just see Jerome in the background there coming into frame.
Things now down to 1.5 seconds. Lowendick could maybe have a chance if he really hustles, but it's looking less and less likely. Clock now ticking down to 0, and the checkered flag being prepared for Daniel Krasowski. A 6th win. I asked at the start of today's race if he's going to simply limp home and have a muted celebration for a championship, or is he going to be emphatic today? This is about as emphatic as you can get as the 33 comes out of the final corner. Daniel Krasowski not only takes the win, but the championship here in the GT3 Pro-Am Series of the Precision Racing League.
An amazing run from him. Behind them, those SRT Esports drivers down to about 0.3 of a second. This is going to be a last-minute maneuver for J.R. Williams if he wants it, but I don't think it's going to be. A little bit of formation flying here for Menino and Williams to cross the line.
Great double podium for the team. Bertome held back Lowendick, 4th place in the end. Teddy, maybe if he had gotten by Nin a little quicker, could have had a shot. Bertome with the AM win, and Kwok Nin with 2nd place, I believe, will be the new championship leader into the next round. As the last few cars come across the line, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen. The penultimate round of the season sees Daniel Krasowski claim the championship here in New York, and Dave Menino followed him home a distant second by 18 seconds on the clock. It was nearly second place for third place finisher J.R. Williams, who fought with his teammate, but he just didn't have enough at the end. As our winner in the AM category, Jerome Bertome, gets 4th from overall. And then Teddy Lowendick was very close to passing him in the end. Maybe one more lap would have done it, but he went from 19th to 5th. That's nothing to sneeze at. Kwok Nin, 2nd in the AMs, but 6th overall, was followed by Arnaud Genet in 7th, as Alexander Berton went from 14th to 8th in that AM class. Then you've got Josh Slade finishing 9th, and Jean-Claude Langlois rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Diego Morez who had a disappointing day, followed by Marc-André Desjardins, with Cody Hatch and Jean-Marc Tremblay rounding out your drivers to finish. Norris, Benitez, Brisson, Elliott White, and Jordan Coons all, unfortunately, DNFs on the day.
And it looks like we've got our new winner and champion here, Daniel Krasowski, ready to talk to us after he seals things up today. Daniel, by our calculations, which is unofficial, you are now the champion in the Pro-Am series. How does it feel?
It feels great. That was kind of an uneventful race. We had Kazuki didn't show up, nor Dominic. It's nice to take the win, but had to keep myself from falling asleep there.
Well, usually the excitement at Watkins Glen is enough for most folks. Knowing that you've sealed it up, what do you want to do coming into the final rounds over at Monza? That's obviously a bit of a toss-up because of the slipstream. Do you want to make it 7 wins on the trot?
Possibly. Might start from the back like Teddy did. I don't know what he was doing today because he was faster than me in practice. So I thought we might have a little bit of battle RSR at the front, but that didn't happen. I don't know what he's up to, but I was hoping for another shoey today.
Yeah, I think we were too, but unfortunately for him, he botched his qualifying, didn't get a time in. So
he has 4 laps. How did he do that? I'll have to watch the broadcast again and have a talk with him.
Again, congratulations. And will we see you back to defend this title next season?
For next season, I'm going to focus on the Canadian PESC. So I was hoping you guys were going to do a Porsche Cup, but since you're not, I'm going to probably skip this next season. But the following, I will be back for sure.
Oh, great stuff. That was Daniel Krasowski, your winner here today and new champion in the pro class. Up next, we've got Dave Menino. DJ has caught up to our second place finisher.
Well, Dave, it's good to see you back up on the podium. A good run there for you to be able to just sort of avoid some of the carnage and keep that car pointed the right way.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Definitely good. Nice to get a P2 here. Really nice to get a team podium as well with JR in third. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting race. I ran as little wing as possible as allowed in this car, and that definitely made it a little tricky in some corners, but I was really powerful on the straight, so that helped me defend quite a bit.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the ending there. We were wondering if there was some team tactics coming in between you and JR, or if you guys were duking it out a little bit.
No team tactics. We were all, fighting our own race. I definitely, there was a little bit at the beginning when I saw that Moraes was catching me, and I told JR, I think he's quicker. I'll try and defend hard, and maybe I can back him into you, and maybe you can get a chance to get third again. But, other than that, that was about the only bit of team tactics that we had. It was a straight fight at the finish.
Well, speaking of dialing back some of the downforce a little bit, head to Monza next time. How do you think that's going to go?
I think it'll be fun. I think the nice thing with the Lambo is that I think at least relative to other cars, it's a lot easier to run a low downforce setup. Really only apart from the bus stop and that second to last corner here, the car felt pretty good, which I know in a lot of other cars like Audi especially, it's really difficult. So I got to feel pretty good about it.
Well, I like that feeling good, Dave. Anybody you want to thank for the run here today?
Yeah, we'd like to thank you guys at GSRC for the great broadcast as always, the guys who set up the PRL League and the SRT eSport team.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. That was Dave Menino, your second place finisher here today. And now, Joe, I believe you caught up with his teammate, J.R. Williams.
Indeed, and talked a little bit about how he and JR didn't have any team orders, but I'm more curious, JR, about your action when Moraes came through and was fighting not just for third, but then eventually for second. Did that make you do a double take?
No, not really. He's been incredibly quick all season, so I'm not surprised at all. He's going to definitely be in the pro class no matter what his iRating is next season.
That certainly seems like it. He's been quick and unfortunately just not consistent. But talk about the teams battle here, because the SRT eSport team definitely needed this 2-3, and I have to imagine this is going to help you guys a lot in the hunt for that come to the next round.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Dave said, we don't really have team orders, so it's well, especially when it comes down to the last few laps, we're going to battle. Yeah, he was just running a bit less downforce than me, so there, I think he just made the better choice.
Well, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Is there anybody you'd like to give a thank you to for today's podium?
Yes. First off, PRL. Love all the guys at PRL. Love the series. It's we put on a great, clean series every season. And also want to thank my team, SRTE, and our sponsors, Racebox Sims, Gomez Sim Industries, and Racing Sim Tools.
Thank you very much. That was J.R. Williams, our third place finisher, and one more, fourth overall. But the winner in the AM category, DJ has caught up with Jerome Bertome.
I have indeed, Jerome. This is, I think, the first AM podium, AM win we've seen for you in at least a good long while. It's got to feel great.
Yeah, it feels really great. P4 overall and a win in my class, so I can't complain. It feels really good.
I bet, my friend. I bet indeed. So talk me through the race there. Obviously, you had to cut your way through a little bit, moving your way up forward. How were you feeling when you saw some of the drivers like Brisson and Benitez start to fall away?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to these guys in front, but on my side, I was following the pack, and then at some point, I think it was Kwok who made a mistake, so I took the opportunity and overtake him after the first corner. And then after, I took the draft of Tremblay, and the next lap after, I think I managed to overtake him at the bus stop on the outside, and I don't know what happened to him, because I don't think we touched together, but he spun behind me, so I hope I didn't do anything bad. Then after, it was just a matter of following GR, and then when I saw Moraes spawning, then I was quite afraid. I managed to avoid him, and after that, I knew that I was first in my class, so it was just a matter of managing the gap and everything.
Well, it was a great job there for you. We look ahead to Monza next time out. How do you think that's going to go?
Pretty bad with the Porsche. I don't think it's going to be a good track with the Porsche, but who knows? I love Monza, and I have a lot of experience on Monza, so who knows?
Well, fingers crossed for you, Jerome. Anybody you'd like to thank today?
Yeah, sure. Thanks to you guys first for broadcasting. Always a very, very good show. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all PRL members who joined our series. That's fantastic. And thanks to our sponsor, Advanced SimRacing, RaceLab, ButtKicker, and NinjaTrader. And thanks to all my teammates.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And congratulations again on the AM win. That was Jerome Bertome. Joe?
And that's going to close us out for today. But before we go, we want to thank a few sponsors, starting off with the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Check out our link in the description below and use our special discount code MAJORS GSRC for 10% off. ASR, they design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ Zach and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. There's a link in the description below for that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we said, the season finale is coming up. That'll be the Red Bull Ring in Monza on Monday, February 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And coming up in a few minutes, the Porsche Owners Club goes to Road Atlanta for an endurance race. That'll be at 11 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.